поскольку я...
Since how shall I put it, we're here at the school. We are here at the school learning how to do many things, studying many things I don't know, maybe not studying, not learning, at least exchanging our knowledge. I would like to draw attention to what was mentioned at the end by Andrei Alexandrovich. The most important thing is that if we could learn to have a well-founded, argumented discussion. I understand that many people are so critical of the existing problems of interaction between government and society, and think how to overcome it, or at least how to live with this. But it seems to me you don't have to in a public space, in another public space, you don't have to shift, to move your discontent there, and turn it from the social sphere into your personal attitude. It's not professional, it's not humane. And for this reason, it almost is bad manners for public space. And the school does not want to be seen as a space or as somewhere where they're doing things that violate human ethics. We have every right to defend our viewpoint, and we have the right to judge what is being done by somebody, but we have no right to judge the people. It is the Lord that judges people. We judge only what people do, and nowhere, and we don't dare go further. This is what it seems to me. Andrei Alexandrovich, he is a philosopher and theologist. He will correct me if I'm wrong, but he will do it in private. But I voiced my viewpoint. Well, I just found out that I'm a theologist, Andrei said. Well, I won't say you're an atheist. No, you can't. Then you're a theologist. Well, you see, well, I did it on purpose, so that Ina could join us, to give her time. Ina, I don't know how many people in this room have met Jerol, but let's hope that one day you will all meet him, and you will meet him closer than you can during this session. The thing is that Jerol here represents our partners in the United States. In the United States there is ACSR, Foundation to Support Civil Society, which, together with the school and many American councils and other institutions, holds twice a year our seminars in the United States. And American seminars are one of the strongest that the school offers. And this is a very long-standing tradition, and I don't know to which extent I have any right to recommend anybody, but probably am. And I wish you all not only to meet Jerol here in this country, but also in the United States. These seminars are dedicated to federalism, and they certainly disclose the subject from a very different perspective. And when they speak of federalism, not just about theory, but about practical terms, how institutions work, how society works. And this is where I have to make a qualification that the topic that we discussed, Jerol was supposed to travel with a colleague of his, Signorina, but he couldn't make it, unfortunately, and the topic was slightly changed. We're supposed to speak about NGOs, but this is probably you will hear a lecture on non-for-profits later, but instead Jerol would tell about the work of his university, about the work of American communities. I suppose it's something very useful. Thank you. We don't want to eat any more time, and we're very happy that Jerol could finally got here, and he's really a very important and dear guest. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, I would like to welcome you to our university, hopefully in person one day. The university that I currently work at is called the University of Missouri in St. Louis, and that is our beautiful campus that hopefully one day you'll get to see in person. I have a background in teaching English, working with international students. Currently in my position, I am a coordinator for international training programs at the university. And one of the programs that we are so happy to welcome to our campus and to our city every year is the Moscow School. So we've been doing this I've been working with your school for more than 10 years and welcoming groups in St. Louis and in Chicago. So hopefully I'll get to meet you all in person. If not tonight, then sometime soon. I'd like to talk to you about what our institution does in our community and its role in civic engagement. So I think possibly when people think about what do students do outside of the classroom and how do they become active, a lot of times people may think of students becoming active when they're complaining about the food's not good enough, or the dorms are a problem, or we want free education, or we want to pay less for their education. This is not new. Students have been doing this for a long time. We have students in St. Louis at Washington University that were recently protesting and arrested for the role of their institution and their partners. One of their partners is Peabody Energy, and they are a company that is a coal-based energy producer, and the students are very interested in their own future and their environment, and so they protested the university's connection with the coal-burning energy company. And there may be changes in how the university deals with their local partners. Stanford University made some changes recently about how they partner with their local communities. But that's reactionary. That may be a moment in time, and it's not an ongoing commitment to the community. So that's what I want to talk to you about, is ongoing engagement with your community. It is an engagement that is not just for the institution, but also for the students, for the faculty, for the local area. It is about integrating the needs of the community into the education of the students, into the curriculum on an ongoing basis. It is not only for social work or education or public policy. It is every college on our campus. You can read these. I don't need to read them to you, but what this is saying is that our university has made a commitment to our local area around us and the city in general to become the best partner that we can be that benefits the community, and not just in theoretical education for our students, but in actual experiential learning that the students can use. And when they graduate, they have real life experience that they can take with them. They have worked in the community. They have been involved in the community. They understand what citizenship means. On our campus, we have 37 professors who are hired for one purpose or another to find projects for our students to be involved with. But also our students find projects on their own. They bring them to the classes and say, I would like to do more about this. Can we involve this in our curriculum? And we do. We integrate that into the education process. So what is civic engagement at a university level? Well, the honest answer is, I don't know. It's different for every university. It's different for every community. It's different for where you live. If I told you what our needs are, it's not going to match what your needs are. You identify what is needed, and you work on how do we put that into the education process of the students. What knowledge are we giving them? What skills are we giving them? What values are we promoting as an institution that we believe our students need to graduate with? How do our students leave our institution and make our city a better place? This is done through service learning projects, internships, volunteer work. It's often the end result of their 4 years at the university where they do a project and then they report the results back to the university and to the local community. And the idea is teaching students how to be an important, valuable member of not only our institution and as a graduate, but also the community that they live in. Our university has set up several things that we want the students to know. Civic engagement is not bonus work. It is not one class. It is an ongoing experience that happens over 4 years while you get your degree. It is not in a particular area. It's not only, you take one education course and you're done. That's not it. Every course that you take can possibly have a service learning component into it. When you sign up for your classes, you are aware that this class may require you to be committed to a project in the community while you're in that class. All of our students know that. You work with a mentor, you work with your teacher, you work with the community, and it is about getting that engagement. What our students want to instill is, it is the duty of all of our students to be involved. It is about accountability at an individual level. The choices that you make are important, but they're not a moment in time. They are starting now, if you've never done it before, and it doesn't end when you get your degree. We want you to understand the local issues much better. We want you to be involved with the issues. We want you to understand the historical conditions that made that condition a reality, and then work on results through your actions. We want you to understand that maybe we don't have all of the answers. Maybe another community has answers, and we can use their models. We can borrow it from when you come to visit us. We can listen to what you have to say, and maybe some of your models would work for us, and vice versa. We can work across state lines, across national borders to help each other, and we want the students to understand that it does not end with a degree. So when our faculty go to set up a course, they ask the students, they ask the community, what are the issues? What do we need to think about? What do we need to concentrate on? How would this not only benefit the students, but also the faculty and also the community? Is it more positive than negative? If it has a negative impact, why are we doing this? We can't do it just so we can have a statistic that says the university is involved. That's silly. We want real impact. What connection would this, how would this benefit the university as an institution? In this picture you see, this is, his name is Captain Isom. He is the former police chief for the city of St. Louis. And when he retired, we, as an institution, hired him to work in our criminology department. We like to have that face that says, yes, we understand the issues. Look, we have the police chief at our university helping us make decisions about how to make the best impact on local issues. What do we want to achieve as a university, and how do we find the resources to make that happen? Some of the examples of, I'd be happy if someone wants more information about this, ask me and I can help you find the links to these. And I'll give you a couple of examples about what we do. later. But we have the School of Education, works with local schools. The School of Optometry drives a van around and helps people get eye exams. The College of Nursing, we train more nurses than any other school in the state. We train more teachers than any other school in our state. So we're very proud of the work that we do in our community. So when we, in our ongoing process as an institution, we look at how we have done in the past, how do we reevaluate the successes and the failures that we've had, and how do we make this a better process for the future? And we constantly re-update our faculty guide in helping the faculty implement these programs. We actually have a division on our campus called the Center for Teaching and Learning that helps teachers implement service learning courses or service learning projects into their curriculum. So let me show you some things from the faculty guide and also some results from our own assessment of our own job about how we do. So this is taken from a 2009-2010 report on how we did as an institution. And I'll go to the next slide, which, oh, no, yeah, on yours, which shows in Russian to help you all. Of the total, in 2009-2010, of the total population of all of our students, 80% of our students were involved in a service learning project. So that's a pretty high number. This is not, some students. This is most of our students. And the ones who are not participating are often part-time students or don't finish their coursework. So we have a pretty high success rate when we're talking about four-year graduates. It gets higher if we eliminate the students who are part-time. Each semester we offer over 600 service learning opportunities to our students. And of the full-time faculty on our campus, almost 30% are involved in a service learning project on any given semester. We have a lot of faculty who are purely research, and we've been working on improving that number by showing them how they can integrate the results of a service learning project into the research that they're doing, often through qualitative research where we interview and help understand the results of what we've done. So we set up some strategic guidelines. What do we want the students to know, and what skills do we want them to have? That can be in the form of leadership, of civic engagement, of global citizenship. What does it mean to be not just a member of your community, but to extend out and bring other communities' ideas into ours? Careers for the public good. Often people graduate with a degree in business, and we've tried to say, there are other degrees. And some of them have to do with civic engagement, civic involvement. We want our students to think critically, to ask hard questions, to come up with new ideas, to work on new ways to promote the information, to get information using technology, to solve problems as a team, in groups, to work with other people, ethical reasoning, and skills for a future job, basically. What we say is that volunteerism is a large part of involvement in the community in the United States. It often comes at an individual level where a person decides, I want to help other people. And so what they do is they go into the community, they're there for a little bit, they help out, probably doing small things that other people are too busy to do, and it's just a little thing. And the community benefits greatly from that. Maybe the person leaves saying, I feel better about myself, but it's really the community that benefits. When you have an internship, the student is getting experience for a job. It often doesn't help if they go to a business or a community because it's a short-term involvement. Maybe they go for a month and they have a month of internship, and when they're done, they leave, and the community doesn't have a long-lasting, sustained relationship. But with service learning, you have not only are the students benefiting, but the communities are, because every year we have new students and new projects and new leadership and new ideas. So it's an ongoing benefit of both a win for the students, a win for the institution, and a win for the community. This is part of our development. What we decided was we divided this into different sections. Preparation, how to get started, what does the action look like, what are you going to do, how do you assess success and failure, and the key component is reflection. So in the action itself, you have to set up a relationship, and the most important thing is maintain over time that relationship. If you go in and you help for a week and you leave, that's great, but it's the long-lasting relationships that make the most difference for the community and for our students and our institution. How do we evaluate what the students are doing? How do we say, yes, that was worthwhile? And what we do is maybe, for example, we ask the community, what's the situation right now before our students get involved? And then at the end we say, what did they do and what were the positive results or negative impacts of the activity? And then how can we change that to make that better? We interview people in the community. We get the students to finish their projects and then bring their results back to the community. We ask the students to tell the university, to write in the newspaper, to make a web, like a blog that talks about their activity. So we try to make sure that we are as transparent and open as possible about our involvement, both positively and negatively. And the key component is reflection, and I hope this Russian word captures the idea of that. Is every day we ask the students to look in a mirror and decide, what are you doing? What is actually happening here? I'm currently a PhD student working on a degree in education, looking at the role of technology in the classroom in education. And I know from my work that I'm very influenced by Russian philosophers, Vygotsky, Voloshinov, and Bakhtin, and looking at the role of speech and the role of externalizing and vocalizing your inner understanding. And so this is a very important part. During the course of the semester, we ask the students to constantly journal and reflect, to vocalize what's going on inside, to write it down, to talk about it, to get those ideas out. Because often when you experience something, you say, okay, that was great, and you move on. You have to make dinner and go to school. With this, we ask them, no, what happened? How are you different? Tell me what activity you went through and where you were involved in that process. How did you work together as a team? What needs to be improved for next time? And it is a constant process. It is not the end of the semester or the end of class. It is ongoing. And it's an important and critical part of service learning that students are being asked to vocalize what's going on. I would like to just tell you a couple of quick examples of what we've done. For example, the School of Criminology at our university is, I think last year it was number 3, and this year it's number 2, if I'm not mistaken, is the number 3 or 2 criminology department in the entire United States. We're very proud of our criminology department. And one of the programs that they had was looking at when you incarcerate, when you arrest someone, if they are in jail and you have no idea of redemption, of change, of becoming a better person, when you release them from jail, they're the same person or they're worse. So one of the programs that they have, that they've implemented, and it's a very interesting idea, is the students work with dogs. And they work with training the dogs to work with the inmates on how to develop empathy and how to develop a relationship, because maybe they've never had a strong relationship with anybody. And so what the students did was they talked to the inmates, They talked to the dog trainers, and they reported this back to so this is a community involvement. They report back to their faculty, and the faculty then in turn use that as part of research. Another idea is the School of English works with some of our students, and we often say the best way to understand something better is to try to explain it to somebody else. This comes back to the vocalization, my love of Russian philosophers and talking about vocalization. So what these students do is they're learning how to write better and to be better writers. And so we ask them to go into the community, to local schools, and explain to younger students how to write better and how to be better writers. And during the process of explaining it to somebody else, they then internalize the information and become better writers. And then a lot of the students then transition to say, you know what, I'd really like to be a teacher. That really meant something to me. And so it's on-job training, it's job skill. It's development of a lifelong understanding that I can make an improvement and I can make a positive difference in my community if I get involved. Not only as a job, but as a mentor. If everything goes well, I applied for a grant to work with the university, Southern Federal University, Rostov-on-Don, one of your classmates from a previous year. She and I worked together to write a grant to work on service learning projects that we would do together, that I would work on my end, and she'll work on her end, and together we work on community service projects, and part of the grant is we get to travel. That's my favorite part. I get to come back to Russia, and then she and her students will come to the United States, and we will work together on community service projects. So that's why I'm talking about a global perspective, going and being able to learn from each other. So these are some of the things that my institution is working on, and I hope this has been interesting and informative, and if you have any questions that I'd like to try to answer. If you're going to ask questions about where do we get the money from, I may not have the answer. I'll just preempt that.
Так, коллеги. Okay, fine. Okay, floor yours. Identify yourself. Good. Artur Rudakov and Rostov-on-Don. That's very interesting, very pertinent. And actually, it's just wonderful that you refer in your work to Russian teachers and Russian philosophers. This is wonderful. My question: you and your subject matter that you are discussing, that you're working on. So was there any relationship with your authorities of your city, with the power of your city? So was any connection?
Yeah. As anyone who's been to St. Louis knows, our city is a very interesting model. We are fractured. That's maybe the best word. There are more than 150 municipalities that make up the St. Louis city. So if you're asking, does my university work with the city of St. Louis? The answer is yes. For example, the former St. Louis police chief now is a member of our faculty. But near our university, there are, I would say, 30 municipalities. And I'll give one example. When Dasha came, their group got a chance to visit one of the sites where we are involved. There are 24 local communities, very small municipalities that did not have a strong voice. And our faculty and our public policy administration teachers and faculty have worked with those communities to bring them together. The project was called 24-1, 24 communities as one. And as one, they have a strong voice. As 24, they didn't have the time or the energy or the money to accomplish what they can accomplish together. So this was, our university is here, and all of these local communities are right next to us. And so we work directly with them to help them better organize themselves, to make it not just about small elections, but about bigger. One of the projects that you visited was looking at housing for the elderly. And before, some of the elderly people, they were on their own. They had to try to find housing if they could. And these people were identifying those elderly people who needed the most help, providing them with transportation services and education information to bring them together in a housing unit so that they were not on the street, so that they had help when they needed it. So yes, we've worked directly with local communities on making big changes and a positive impact.
Так. Вопрос из Армении, прошу. Yerman School of Political Studies. Mr. Enoch, thank you very much for your presentation. Yeah. You were talking about the engagement with the community, and I have some experience with working with the community both in the United States and in Armenia, in my country. And my impression was in the United States that there's a lot of work being done with as far as the civic grassroots activism and leadership or the community servicing. But also at the same time, my impression was that the local communities and expect the professional students or the relevant students, they have little understanding of international relations. In many cases, they have no idea where their country is involved in war, why, what are the reasons for being there. And it's not only about war against terror or anything. Anywhere in the world, they have very little understanding of foreign relations.
I agree.
Would you say that is a problem? And if so, what can be done? Or is there anything that they can learn from post-Soviet countries? In my country, it's a very important topic to be very aware of the world politics or geopolitics, whatever. I think it's the same thing, same way in Russia too. Would you comment on that? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a little ashamed that you're, yes, yes. Not most, well, maybe I didn't mean to say most, but it came out of my mouth. I think you're right. Many of our citizens, I think the best idea is if we can move the United States into the middle of Europe, if we just pick the continent up and put it down, that we would have a better isolation, the distance you can travel and never meet another language. I'm not defending anything. It's a problem. There's a that's a tough question. I agree. What I do is personal. For example, I'll give an example of what I have done, and that's the best I can do, I think. I worked at a local university, not my own. I actually taught at a different university. And at that university, we were looking at Russian culture, and I told them every week you've got 3 countries to follow, and you have to try to figure out what's going on, why it's going on, how are we involved, should we be involved, what should the next steps be, and try to get the students to if you watch our news, not much is devoted to international coverage. If you watch, there's actually a very good television show on HBO, which you have to pay for. It's not free. And one of the commentators has a a section called Not America. No, it's John Oliver, and he talks about countries that are not America, and you know it's a joke, but it may be the only time people hear about things that are not America. So you have to change the whole media system. People have to get involved on their own. It doesn't impact, you know, people don't feel it. The wars are too far away. They're in countries that people don't even know where they are. You know, at the height of the involvement with Afghanistan and Iraq, people didn't know where it was. So, you know, and you would think that if your troops are somewhere doing something, you would want to know where it is. And the cold reality is sometimes they don't even know where their state is on a map. It's about economic disadvantage. It's about poverty. It's about education. It's about interest. Yeah, I think I should stop. We could talk about that all night. Can we talk about this afterwards?
Продолжаем тему. Антон имеет слово, коллеги.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. I'm not sure how many universities in the U.S. Have such a program. This is a very interesting thing, and probably you have a very interesting niche in the U.S. Probably this is interesting. By the way, do you have? Okay, it's another thing. My question was actually.
We'll talk over a beer.
What happens? What do you your students? What usually your students do after they finish the university? What is a typical path that they take if you have already this information? I don't know whether you do. What is the face of the former student of your school? What is this figure?
Well, the students who do this are not public policy administration students. They are nurses, they're doctors, what we try to tell them is that it's not about public policy, it's about civic engagement, it's about caring about the people who live in the community around you. And we're a very fractured city. People who come, the majority of our students do not live or work near our school. We've got a very big area, and we are what's called a commuter school, which means that most students drive. And so what we're trying to do is make that exponentially bigger, that they work in the local community, but then they take that back to their own community. And if they are an educator, then they take that back into the field of education. If they are business or international business, they take that back into the role. I would say that, is there one face? No, but hopefully it is a face that understands civic engagement better than going to a different university. That's what our goal is. Okay. I don't think that there's a typical student, because the purpose of our doing this is to make sure that it is woven into the very fabric of education, that we're moving away from purely theoretical education into practical education. And part of that comes from being involved and the understanding that it doesn't end when your class ends.
Прошу, сударыня, вам слово. Называйте себя.
Меня зовут Марина Ильющенко.
My name is Marina Ilyushenko. I am from Khabarovsk. I'm happy to have met you because I'm a teacher too, but I'm a Russian teacher and literature teacher, and I'm double happy. Jerol, my question is the efficiency of your university. The representative from the state, do they check on the efficiency of how good you are at your university? So Ministry of Education, like if they check you, then what are the criteria of checking your efficiency?
As an unofficial representative of the university here speaking to you today, I'm going to give you this answer. Number one, the United States federal system is very, very different, that there is no oversight at a national level like that. A lot of it is self-reporting, it is self-assessment. At a state level, We do receive funding from the state. So we are a state school. We're not a private school. There is accountability. We do report. As for the exact communication that goes from our president to the president of the university system to the governor of the state or the secretary of education of our state, then I don't know. But what we did in 2009 and 2010 is we put the test to ourselves. We wanted to know how good we were. And so we entered into a competition to measure ourselves voluntarily. We wanted to do that. It was called the Carnegie, it's too long to explain. There's a national institution that kind of oversees some things, and we self-reported to them. They had a set of criteria. I can show you the document. It's hundreds of pages long, lots of questions. And I showed you some of the results of things and what we monitored. How many students are involved, how many faculty are involved, how much time is committed, how often, blah, blah, you know. Can you give us specific examples of things that you've done? Can you make them, are they ongoing? That's one of the key things, you know. Is this a long-established relationship, or was it, you know, did you do this one semester so that you could try to look good? No, it can't. You have to maintain the relationships. Can you provide something that you've done 10 years ago and show that you've kept an ongoing positive relationship with that community or that local issue? So it really was self-evaluation. For a point of pride from our university, we measure ourselves by our own standards, but we wanted to prove, you know, our name is not, we're not Princeton, we're not Stanford. The most famous university in our city is called Washington University. And nationally, it's famous, it's ranked, you know, as one of the top schools. And people don't know our name as much. We're a state school, we're a smaller school. So we have to promote ourselves in ways to attract students. And Washington University does not need to advertise. You don't need to say, here's a brochure about Harvard, just in case you've never heard of it. We'd like to let you know more. You know, but our university, we do. We need to advocate. We need to prove. And when we got the results back that we're the number 14 school in the country, we surprised ourselves, and we surprised the community, we surprised a lot of people around us, and we're proud.
Перехожу на противоположную сторону. Коллега, вам слово, прошу.
Voronkov Nikita, Kabardino-Balkarsk Republic. I am the representative of student self-governance body, and in line of my job, I talk to different self-governance institutions in different universities and colleges, and I talk to them. So there are many students, very active, very vibrant, very interesting, but they cannot open themselves up because they either just do not allow them to do anything, so they come face and face with the pressure from the administration, so they cannot realize themselves, they cannot do what they want to do, and that's why this activity is kind of pressurized, is dampened, and that's why they cannot display their talents. So have you ever come across such situations when you see similar situations? And if you come across such situations, how to go around it, how to let the students open themselves up, and how to prevent that?
Our commitment at our university, I'm not going to answer your question. Our commitment at our university is institutionalized. It is top down. It comes from the chancellor. It comes from the provost. It comes from all of our top people. This is something they're committed to, and you know, and sometimes the faculty, we've had to pull the faculty along and say, this is important for our institution. This is something we want to do. And they say, well, you know, I've got research to do. I've got grants to write. I've got this. And we say, okay, well, let's let's integrate that. So we had to work on developing faculty involvement. We tell the students from day one, your community involvement is not an option. Your community involvement is part of your education. So we think that's kind of a three-step approach. Is our top administrators want this. The faculty are shown how they can do their work and still satisfy the requirements of the university. And our students are told on day one, you will have to take community service. No, the community service component is integrated into the education that you are going to get. Are you okay with that? And if they say no, then we say, well, maybe there's a better institution for you. Maybe there's educational opportunities out there at a different location. We're not the only university, but this is something we believe in, and this is something that has to happen. So if you want me to tell you how to, get the top people involved, I don't have an answer for that. I do know that the development of the community service was a holistic development. It was everybody on board, and without that, if we didn't have a constant reassessment of ourselves, every couple of years we're going to find out if we're doing a good job. If no one is interested, if you're doing a good job, then it's not going to continue. And if it's only at the student level and there's no faculty support, there's no backbone, there's no muscle to that, then, a bunch of students have, that's, great. But it's got to be a whole. It has to be a unit. It has to be one. I wish I had a better answer. I didn't answer your question, I know. Sorry.
Так, вот рука.
So then there is this guy who raised his hand. So that's who's this lady? Oh, yes, I recognize her now. Okay. Yaroslavsky State University from Yaroslav. From a different angle. So this Nikita was saying on behalf of the students, I speak on behalf of the faculty. My problem, how to involve the students? They won't be involved. It's just the other way around. And because I represent the faculty, if I understand correctly, so this involvement, social involvement, is part of the curriculum of the university. Is that right? Yes, this is right. And what do you do to motivate the students? So this not just formally, but so to make sure that they do it with all their heart, out of the bottom of their hearts, not because they just pay lip service to it, but how to get them really involved in it.
Yeah, I think it's something that we. I think it's different. There, some students are, honestly, some students probably quit going to our university because they don't want to do more than, or they can't. We have students who work, we have students who have families, we have students who are occupied, I don't know, doing what. And maybe the single students who don't have a family find it easier to be involved. But just the faculty, I mean, they build this into the curriculum, and I think you probably have some students, and there's some pushback where the students say, I can't do this, and maybe they don't pass the class. I don't know, but I agree. It has to be a commitment on. I mean, if you have the faculty who are excited about it, then hopefully, if they see that I did it in this class and did it in this class and did it in this class, maybe the first time it's difficult, but if it's the second time it's easier. The third time you say, okay, this is routine. So I think the idea of ongoing, and I keep saying that over and over again, but the idea of ongoing, constant, is what gives us the strength of that. The teachers have to have the passion. I mean, I'm sure you do. I don't mean that any disrespect. I'm sure that you have the passion for what you do, but that's, if I'm working with students, then I try to do what oh, that's a terrible answer. I'm sorry. Yeah, I do think it's the commitment of the whole And when the students come to our university, it is one of the questions we ask. So maybe there's kind of a screening process that we go through at the beginning to say, I don't know if you do that at your university. You know, by the time that you graduate, you will have 4 projects that you have done, and they hopefully they're not just checking them off, saying, oh my God, I'm done with second one, oh third one. You know, that by the time that they see that it's rewarding in itself, that they're and I mean no disrespect by this either. If the community sees the benefit and the students can see the benefit that they are providing for somebody else, that's where we get some of the energy from. The 24-1 project that I was telling you about, 24 communities working together as one. When you visited, they brought in one of the people who benefited from the project, and she was so excited. If you remember, we gave her 3 minutes to talk, and she talked for 20 minutes about the benefits that she had received from the program. And that connection, you know, if we can help the students understand that it's real, it's not an exercise, it's not a possibility. If we can so that's what our constant reflection is. So some of the times we may say, okay, go out and interview somebody who's benefited from the work. And if they get some, you know, sometimes the stories are really tough. You know, the people live on the streets for years, and then this program came along, and now I'm happy for the first time in 20 years. And if you hear somebody say that, that's, you know, hopefully it means something. And if you can pass that message along to the next person, then, but it's got to be that understanding that I do something for the greater good, and it has real impact, and it has real benefit. I think if it's just an exercise, and it's something to check off and tick off, yes, I've done it, now I can move on to my real life, then yeah, it'll die.
Коллеги, а у представителей студенческой молодежи
Yeah, so do we have any representatives of students, of young students? Only faculty members are asking questions.
From Kazakhstan city.
поближе к микрофону, будьте добры.
Every year in our country, every young person, for the most part, strive to be a lawyer. At the moment, the number of students enrolled in this specialty is 53%. But we have the one problem, small experience. Does your university plans to collaborate with Kazakhstan universities by the system academic mobility?
Yeah, let's write a grant. Let's get that going. Sure. You know, we don't have a law degree, so it would have to be. I would say that if it's something we could help do is providing the mentorship and the maybe some of the models that we've used to provide those. You know, how do you get the students involved to understand that it's more than just a job? That it's promotion of a better life, that it's more than about me, that it's about us. And, you know, and anything that's mandatory becomes difficult. I have to do it, you know. Okay, today's National Cleanup Day. Okay, let's all go clean up. But it has to be part of the understanding that I am making a better place to live in. People are happier, and it's because of the work I'm doing. And I made a positive impact. And I think that's what some of the same answer. But yeah, I would love to do it. I can help provide models. I don't know. It's all about grant funding when it comes to travel and, you know, cooperation. But
in the USA, the judge system is more developed than Kazakhstan.
Oh.
Because
I will rely on a lawyer to talk to you about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Пожалуйста, Людмила Климович, прошу.
Ulyanovsk, thank you for the wonderful intervention. My question is as follows. You mentioned that the mentors who work with the students, they are the faculty members, teachers, right? And so the public, the social work, social involvement has its specifics. So how do you train your teachers to work with students in this new social area?
Yeah, it's much like integrating technology into the classroom, not everybody feels comfortable doing it, or they integrate it and they don't do it well. And much the same way, integrating community service is not something you can just, I'll just stick it in there somewhere and, at the other end, I hope that they do something. No, we have training programs. We have a Center for Teaching and Learning that is a dedicated division with people on our campus who we've got literature from other places. We have books. One of the things that I am working with Anastasia and Rostov-on-Don is I provided her with the materials that we use so that she can start the process of training her teachers and herself on what we do. Hopefully it's a positive model that will work with her as well. But yeah, we don't just go to a teacher and say, you've got to do this, it's into our curriculum. There is a training process that we have the teachers go through first. The ones who feel comfortable with it, we assess. The ones who don't feel comfortable with it, we train. And then hopefully we get everybody, and everybody does it differently, but there has to be a minimum standard. And it's number of hours, it is ongoing constant reflection, it is interviewing people in the community, it is reporting back to the community the results of, it cannot be a contained classroom environment or event. It has to be something that extends outside the classroom. The teacher has to find a way for the students and the community to stay in communication. So inside the classroom they discuss, then they go outside the classroom, collect information, report information back. And not all teachers know how to do that, so a training process is very important. How to assess reflection. And if it's my feeling and I'm writing it down, is it wrong? Are my feelings wrong? Well, so we have an assessment guide, a rubric of how was this positive, was this helpful, was this moving? I don't know. If you're interested in that kind of thing, then I can show you the materials that we use.
Так, продолжаем. Коллеги, пожалуйста, сударыня, вам слово.
Let's move on. Your question, please.
Natasha Sergeyeva, Samara State University. Thank you for your lecture.
Our sister city.
What?
Samara is our sister city.
Oh, it's great. Well, talking about Russia and taking into account the previous questions about the dangers that face some students and the absence of motivation that have the students, also taking into account that the strong dependence of the state universities from, the state, whose initiative shall it be to establish the system of, service learning or civil involvement of students in the Russian universities, of the governmental initiative or city administration initiative, university initiative or student initiative, or even perhaps the people who need help in this or that city. Thank you.
All of the above. I think, yeah, you're right. If the university decides to move forward and the community is not interested, it's dead. If the faculty are interested in doing it and the institution doesn't care, it's dead. If you can't get the students motivated, then it becomes an exercise for a grade, and that's wrong too. And what our question was are there issues in our community that are problems that need to be solved? And the answer in almost every community anywhere in the world is yes, there are problems, and yes, they need to be solved. If the community that oversees those problems is not interested, I have no idea how to convince them that volunteers are going to come and help make this better, and we're going to communicate with people to find out real issues and the real voices of the people who are affected by those issues. And if you're not interested, why? Why are you not interested? So ours was just asking basic questions about moving forward. What's going on in our community, and why are we not more involved? As an institution, it is our responsibility, we feel. It is our responsibility. The community says we need help and we don't know where to go. A lot of our communities, our individual communities, are reliant on some levels above them, but on many issues, they have to solve their own problems. And expertise in the form of mentors and hands on the ground in the form of volunteers and students was mutually beneficial. We help them, they help us. We look better as an institution, and the community has some of their issues solved or working on solutions. So yeah, if the city's not interested and the community's not interested, my first question would be, why not? What's the harm? I mean, what could go wrong? Because we're not going in and changing. We're asking you what you need help with. We didn't come in and say, we just decided to paint the streets green because we thought that was a great idea. You know, who's that helping? We ask you, what's the first thing that you would do if you could change something? And can we help? That's where we started.
Коллеги, пожалуйста.
More questions, please. Ms. Lushkova, your question. Yelena Lushkova from St. Petersburg. At the previous session, the topic was associated with one of the risks here in the world, and that is we are losing rational behavior. And one of the reasons for that is the transition to the virtual world. In your presentation, I heard a very important point about the realization of those arguments and the implementation of them. But your students are contemporary people who are subject to social media and the internet. So is this risk relevant for you, that the real world can be substituted for a virtual one? How your students cope with them, and perhaps your projects help them to cope with that problem?
The problem is, I need some help with that. The problem is that students are, I need to, if I'm going to answer your question, I need you to rephrase that. What is the risk that they will, I'm sorry, I apologize, but I want to make sure I answer the question.
Risks.
The risk is that young people spend most of their time in the internet, not communicating with each other or interacting with each other.
Physically going out to help people, yes, yeah. Well, you know, and that's one of the, I hate to say it, but one of the ways that we help communities is we raise awareness through social media. So that's a terrible answer. Community involvement is, and I have some pictures of things that we've been there. They have to physically go. They have to interview. They have to do focus groups. They have to do reports on what they saw. They can use the internet to report those results, and our whole learning system, our whole education is built upon a learning management system. It's all internet-based. So the students report on the internet to show their results of what they found. And they do design websites. And so we integrate that, but they have to get the information for the virtual participation through on-hands involvement. And yeah, part of the Center for Teaching and Learning is integration of social media into the classroom. So I'm not answering your question because I think that we try to use social media for a positive role, but I'd like to say we augment that experience of using social media by asking the students to be a physical presence in the community as part of the project. Does that answer your question? Maybe not.
Соглашайтесь, Лена. Спасибо. Прошу.
I'm Daria Bykova from Savara. I'm a graduate of the last year.
Amazing experience when we were there. And I really liked it a lot. But I have to admit that our university, and I think that not only mine, but lots of universities of my country, they are pretty far from what you have there. So you said that you do a lot of work in order to promote your university, like to attract the attention of press. And, I really care about it because when I tell people that I study at Samara State University, they say, Samara, where is it? And what is the university and things like this.
You're talking to Americans when they say that, I think.
So could you please broaden a little bit this topic and tell us what else, what can we do to attract the attention of press and mass media?
In Samara?
Everywhere, throughout Russia.
Well, one of the things that our 90% of, or 95 or 99% of the news that's on every evening is death and destruction and what happened and who was arrested and who to be afraid of and what went wrong. And we have worked with our local media trying to promote what goes right. And when there are radio shows during the day on our national public radio that it's called Cityscape. An hour a day on national public radio is dedicated to positive things that are happening in the community. And our faculty and our students are on a lot. There's a program once a week on television that it's called Donnybrook, and I think they talk about local issues, and we try to get our faculty involved. Whenever there's an election or there's something going on politically, Terry Jones, who you met, is on television talking about it. And the man who introduced the subject of federalism, who gave a presentation, he's on television all the time too. And so we try to be a positive, we try to put our faces out there of being on the radio, being on television, being in the media, being, I meant newspapers, and then virtually with social media as well. And as much as we're doing, we should be doing more. We talk about it all the time. Our name recognition, our university doesn't have the same name recognition. We're struggling with that. As much as we're doing, we won this award. We did great work, and who knows? Well, I don't. We pat ourselves on the back and say we did a great job, but we're struggling the same way of how to make sure that we have a UMSL magazine that we publish, and we send it out to all of our alumni. We try to get our alumni to pass on the message to other people. This is one of the things that your school does. I'm sure that you learned about this school because of the alumni that came in previous programs. So I think it's a constant struggle. As much as we're doing, we're not doing enough. And finding out, we can be in the top 10 in international business in the United States, which we are consistently, well, maybe the top 20, consistently. And I don't know who knows that. We have one of the top nursing programs. We have a great education program. We have criminology is number 2 in the country. We publish so much stuff. We go to conferences and promote our university. We, go to events in other states and other cities and try to promote that. And it's just a constant struggle to make sure that we keep our name out there. So I don't know the answer. I know we're struggling with the same issue. So.
Так, коллеги, у нас осталось всего 20 минут, поэтому...
Dear colleagues, just 20 minutes to go. Please do not keep your questions, ask them. I'm Albert Karimov from the Yamal-Nenetsk region. My question is follows. Are the students involved in political life, if they are at all? And in the universities, do you maintain some political discussions, platforms, and how active students are involved in electoral campaigns?
They are outside of, those activities fall under the umbrella of student life. There is a Democratic Party club, there's a Republican Party club, there is a club that specializes in inclusiveness, and that's the gay and lesbian community. There's the African American Rights Club. There's, I don't know, you name it, and there's a club. If I like squirrels, there's a squirrel club somewhere, I'm sure. So the community life and campus life is different than the academic life. They exist. They're given money, a very small amount of money. They're given a room on campus where they can meet. They have the ability to advertise. That's what most of their money is for, is to advertise. But most of the advertisement probably comes in the form of social media. But sometimes when you go into the student union building, there are things hanging from the ceiling talking about meetings coming up. The young Republicans and the young Democrats are going to meet, not in the same room, different rooms. They might fight if they're in the same room. But, yes, it's not promoted by the university. It is encouraged, but it's not. The university doesn't say there has to be a young Republican group. If the interest level dies out, it's gone. It has to be maintained by the students and by student involvement. It is not mandated by the university. And to be honest, at other universities, it may be much stronger because we are a commuter university, so the students have to drive or ride the metro to get to our campus because they don't live within walking distance of our campus. And actually, the number of students that live on campus are primarily international students. And they may be involved in the Chinese Student Union, but may not have any interest in politics. But yes, there are strong political, and we have a political science department, and we have a public policy administration department. So yes, the students are politically active. Did that answer your question? I'm always wondering if I answered.
Так, чья рука там, пожалуйста, предъявитесь.
Okay, your question, please. Are you N? I'm Tatiana Tseganova from the Leningrad region. There was a question how we can really reduce the time the students spend on the internet, but my question is the opposite. I wonder if your students pursue some civil projects using the web, the internet, and dear colleagues, I think the focus of his attention was different. They are trying to write novels on the internet when there's something, it's just on the margins.
Example of one way we're using the internet. There is there's a thing on the internet called Second Life. And Second Life is a virtual world where you can create an avatar and the avatars go to meetings in virtual space. And there is an UMSL writing lab center in Second Life where if students choose to do so, they can create an avatar, go to the writing lab, and get help from a writing lab person online using Second Life. It's kind of cool.
Так, прошу, коллега, вам слово.
Ковалев Сергей.
I'm Kovalev Sergey from Volgograd. My question has to do with international sanctions. My friends are physicists and chemists who are associated with technical universities. So then that international turmoil started. They were told on the following day that all those international projects would be terminated. It affected physicists, chemists, and all other students and postgraduates who worked on some technical projects. So I wonder if there are any rumors that projects in humanes could also be curtailed.
The humanities, is that what?
Humanities, yes. humane.
I applied for this grant with the university in Rostov-on-Don, and since then there's been something happening in the Ukraine, and the situation is, I don't know if there's any connection between those two events, but the deadline to hear from whether we got the grant was May 1st, and I'm still waiting.
Thanks. Прошу, коллега. Да.
I'm Yuri Loganov from the city of Bryansk. First, I need a clarification. Is my understanding correct that in their public service, social service, students are not paid for that?
They actually pay us.
Then here comes my question. Before I left for this seminar, I talked to a lecturer of the University of Bryansk, and he complained to me that he couldn't ask and he couldn't make the students help in cleaning the territory of the campus. They just say that we paid for our education, so we are supposed to enjoy the services, not to offer services. So I think of a project. Perhaps that lecturer, professor, misled me. Perhaps he was not lucky with his students. So I suggest your students could work on a form, on a questionnaire, which could help us see if our students are ready for that social work or not. If that questionnaire is prepared, I will distribute that in Bryansk among the students. Perhaps my colleagues, teachers would follow suit, and we will see if Russian students are ready to replicate your experience.
Коллеги, мне кажется, загружать гостя работой прямо так вот сходу, это неправильно.
But I would love to have that conversation with you, because we have set up questions like that to determine, what's in you. And one of our questions is, are you good enough to be a part of this? So.
Хорошо, Аревик, пожалуйста.
Okay, one more question. I'm Annika Makaryan from St. Petersburg, and I'm a senior lecturer in the St. Petersburg University. And my responsibility is the involvement of my students in that social activities. And responding to the previous comment, I would like to say that in my department, we carried out similar research and identified that issue. The matter is that in the value scale for our students, number one is the decree. And in the United States, from my experience, and I stayed in the University of Clark in Massachusetts, the motivation, the incentives are somewhat different. And during the term in the university, they get some experience, which helps them later on in their career. In our case, for a student, it's not an objective. The ultimate objective is the diploma, degree, and that gives them the right to be employed, and that employment let them be paid, and that's it.
And part of our mission is to understand that there's a parallel track in your life, that employment is it runs parallel to being a good citizen. We can never tell our students it's not enough to be employed, because really, honestly, it probably is. But what we try to do is add the extra mission, add the extra statement that it's not just a piece of paper, but it's a piece of paper that actually made you, number one, employable. Somebody will hire you. But number two is you understand what it means to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And some students don't buy into it, and some students do. And we're hoping to improve that. And that's why we constantly reassess. Did we do a good job, and ask better questions, get students involved in a variety of ways, not just one way. It's not just about cleaning. You know, cleaning is important, but it's not just about that. It can be a variety of things. It can be helping somebody find a house and they've never had a house. It can be helping prisoners join society. Then nobody's ever helped them before. It can be helping a student who would otherwise fail and drop out. It has to be. It can't just be one thing. You know, every year we're going to clean. It's got to be a comprehensive, you know, a really comprehensive look at life and the issues that are really important to the community and to the people around. And I think variety is good for all of us. So.
Так, еще пару вопросов будет. Прошу.
I can allow a couple of more questions. You, please.
Hi, my name is Christina. I'm going to talk in English.
Okay.
It's the actually only language I can use, but
Good for me.
I don't really have a question per se, but more of a comment. And I think what made me make this comment is the kind of question that are here in this room. And I think there is a difference in mentality. So sometimes you were addressed questions that you answered, but I think the cultural perspective was different. So I want to tell about my personal story.
I lived in Romania for 2 years, just to let you know.
That's great.
Yeah.
Come back. So, for example, how did it work, the employment for my parents' generation? And so they were finishing university. My mom did medicine. My dad did engineering. They were given a job. Told this is your job, a place to live, and that's it. Now it was completely differently. The rates of youth unemployment in Europe are humongous. My parents don't understand, like, what is this internship thing, being unpaid, volunteering, when are you going to get a job, how long do we have to give you money for, and all of these questions.
I know that situation.
So I think there's a break in mentality, especially in Anglo-Saxon countries and in more Eastern countries. I think the education in the US and the UK, I'm a UK graduate, is that and it's linked to the cost. You're paying a lot of money for it. And you're trying to get as much as possible from your education. And this doesn't mean just time in class, it means everything else. Connections, it means experience, it means everything. And I think in Eastern Europe, it's still very much purely theoretical knowledge that you get in class. And I think that's what we should understand, both as students that in Russia, and also the fellow lecturers here, professors that work in Russian universities, is how do students perceive their education, how they can gain from it, and why models like volunteering work in the US or in the UK, and why they wouldn't work here, and how to make them motivated. So, for example, getting students motivated to work for free in Russia or in Romania is much more difficult to do.
Da, sigur.
Mulțumesc.
I've got lots of stories I could tell about living in Romania and trying to get people involved. I'll tell one. I tried to organize a cleanup day. We're back to cleaning again, I'm sorry. But I wanted to show the students that they should be proud of their building. Oh, I encouraged a photography competition to try to take pictures of the buildings and look how beautiful they were, because I told them, I said, you know, every day you walk to school, you walk with your head down and you never look up, and just look how beautiful the buildings are. And they said, they're dirty. And I said, they're beautiful. And so I was just trying to get them to have pride and feel better about it. And they just said, it's boring. It's, you know, I see the same building every day. And for me, it was beautiful. So I don't know. Foarte frumos. So I tried. I organized a cleanup day, and I contacted the local civic education party. No, what were they called? Anyway, it was a political party in the city.
But how long ago was this?
95. 93 to 95.
So they're probably not around anymore.
Well, I hate to say it, but it's probably a good thing. Anyway, so I tried to get them involved, and I got students out. There's a place called the Chiuperk, it's the mushroom, and we went out and we cleaned up, and it was really just a day to get out and just do stuff. And a lot of students didn't want to come because they had been forced to clean for I don't know how long. And I said, it's not about cleaning. It's about being together and having fun. And we'll go out and we'll play football afterwards. I don't know. We'll have a good time. Some of my students didn't show up because the civic engagement party decided to organize a competition on the same day. Same day. So after they found out what I was doing, they went to a restaurant at the top of the Chiuperk, the mushroom, and they rented the restaurant. And when all of my students, I had about, 30 students show up, and it was fun. We had a great day. But when we got to the top, I saw some of my other students, and they're dressed up, and they all have ties on and nice pants. And I said, what are you guys doing? And they said, we're here for the competition. I said, what competition? It was a competition to talk about civic engagement. And I said, well, we were doing it. I don't know. I was disappointed.
Can I make a really short follow-up?
Sure.
If you're interested...
Кристина, я прошу прощения. Я понимаю.
I apologize. I apologize early. Well, there's simultaneous interpretation available, right, for that purpose. There's some rules of conduct at this conference, and I believe we should all try to observe those. At this very bright note, let me conclude this session, but let me make 3 points. First of all, it was really interesting, very much so. And let me remind you that our presenter is here in Russia for the first time. Let me also say, secondly, that and I was really delighted to learn that English is taught and well studied not only in Armenia or St. Petersburg, but elsewhere in the Russian regions and countries far and wide. The School for Civic Education has a program of cooperation with the University of St. Louis, and if against the gloomy forecasts of Mr.
University of St. Louis. That's a private school.
Хорошо.
And that's not us. So I
Хорошо.
just want to make sure
Это
I apologize. But
Это другая
we're
организация.
trying to promote our image, and I want the name to be right.
Коллеги, когда они называют одним именем.
It's all right. Let me. I'm sorry for making this inadvertent mistake. You know, that's. But let me say is that against the gloomy forecast, if we're not deprived of our foreign passports, our travel passports, against the gloomy forecast of some of the Russian novelists of today. But let me remind you that the school has some wonderful events that take place there annually. So if we're not deprived of our foreign passports, which will be taken away and burnt in a huge heap on the Red Square, then some of you will be able to take part in yet another program of the Moscow School. So do take your time to study English. Thank you. Yep, you're welcome to enjoy the rest of your day.